Attention is in short supply these days, yet it is important to executive function, doing well in school, and overall life success. Hi, I'm Jeff Coleman, and this is Attention, ladies and gentlemen, a show for teachers and parents who want to learn more about attention and what we can do to help our children be more successful in school and life. So if I could have your attention, we will get started. Hey, before we get started today, I wanted to tell you about a fun way to train attention skills from our show's sponsor, Brainly. Where you look and where you are planning to look is where you are placing your attention. The Attention Arcade leverages this connection to train attention skills with specially designed video games that children control using only their eyes. You can learn more by going to attentionarcade.com. Welcome to Attention, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm very happy to have with us Dr. Carolyn Lankford. She's a longtime educator, has been a teacher, a head teacher, and is now doing something different that we'll learn about. But her focus has been on helping children reach their full potential. And I love that because that's something I personally care deeply about as well. Welcome, Carolyn. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So just to get started, tell me, how did you get interested in education? What motivated you to get into the field?
Well, when I was a kid in school, there were so many times that I wished that I had somebody that knew a little bit more than I did to help me out after school was over.
Okay.
I was in the gifted program in school, and a lot of times, sometimes, every now and then, I didn't get exactly what it was that the teacher wanted us to do. And so when I get home, my mom didn't understand, what it was that I was doing in school. And she helped me to the best of her ability. And my dad was working. And so I just had to figure it out. And so usually I'd go to my older brother and see if he knew what it was that what we were working on, because he was a year ahead of me in school.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes that worked and sometimes it didn't. And sometimes I got frustrated and I said, well, you know what? I'm just going to wing it and give it the best I can and then go ahead and, whatever the grade is, it is. And it's her fault. She should have explained it better. And I remember saying that a lot of times.
Okay.
I said, it's her fault. She should have explained it to me better. Or the class should be so that I could ask questions and I won't feel embarrassed about asking questions. So that started me. And I said, when I grow up, I'm going to be a teacher and I'm going to remember to answer all the questions. I remember so many times crying and saying, when I grow up, I'm going to be a teacher. And I'm going to remember to answer the questions that the kids need answers to. But that really stuck in my head. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to, help kids that were like me, who were very good. I was a smart kid, just needed a little more help or a little extra attention.
Right.
And that's when I got interested in it. Found out I really had a knack for children that had other behavioral problems. that was my gift, because they would send those children to me. And after a while, I was like, wow, this is something that I do well. And that's how I started working with children with attention deficit disorders and working with children with behavioral problems.
Right.
And I got a special education master's because I just found that I really had a knack for getting these kids to be successful, because they're the kids that the teacher throws up her hands and says, somebody help, please. And I became that teacher.
Awesome.
Let's send them to a different environment. Let's send them to Dr. Lankford and see if she can help them out for today. Right. And sometimes I would keep those children all day and the next day until they were ready to go back into class. But I had to teach them.
So I want to get to what you're doing now, but I would like to talk a little bit more about those kids that you were working with. How did their attention challenges and their behavioral problems, how did that impact their performance? And what were you able to do to help get them back on track? Or if you have like a specific example, would be great too.
Okay, I had several. They were usually boys.
Okay.
And so those boys, and when I got a girl, she was something else. But usually I had boys. And so the boys would have problems paying attention to the teacher. And you know how boys will play, or even in high school, boys will find something else that they're going to do to distract themselves from what's happening in the front. And those little things that they did to distract themselves would also distract the
Of
class.
course.
And that's when the teacher would say, you know, you might want to go and talk to Dr. Lankford today. And especially once I became a special education teacher, they well, how about and I wasn't just working with children that had
Uh-huh.
IEPs. I was working with there's a lot of children that do not have a 501 504
Right.
plan. They have that they're just there, but the teacher
Of
knows, the
course.
parent knows, everyone knows that this child needs something a little bit extra. And so what I had strategies that I started with the student. They would come to my office and I said, okay, if I come into the room to get for us to have one of our chats, you're not going to explain to me in the classroom what's going on. We're going to smile and we're going to walk out of here. Just like if they're a great fifth grader, a great sixth
Uh-huh.
grader, well, at 10, 11,
Right.
12, they went on up. But I said, we're just going to walk out of the room. And when we get in the hall, not time to talk about it. We're going to talk about this later. So that was one strategy. And another strategy that I had that worked really well with students was when I gave them a little notepad, and I said, "You're going to make tally marks." And so whenever you're being disruptive, I'm going to go, and I'll just hold up one finger, and it's just between you and me, and you know to make a tally mark. When we get to 10 tally marks, then I'm going to come over and I'm going to give you an alternative assignment to do. Because that means that these are too many tally marks for us to go back and let you do what the rest of the class is doing. Okay. So you would think that the child would not want to work on what the other kids were working on. They want something different. They didn't.
Right.
They didn't want anything that was different from what everybody else was
Okay.
doing. And so they would look at me, and so now they have my whole attention. I have their whole attention. They're waiting, and so they know when they're out. That they know when, and they want to see if I saw it. I never forgot, never failed to hold up a finger, and they would begrudgingly put down that tally mark. And so it got to the point, though, that I didn't have to say it anymore. I said, "Okay, today you've graduated. Now you will monitor yourself." You will put down the tally mark yourself.
So
And so now what I'm trying to do, okay, go
so
ahead.
basically what you're doing is helping them become much more aware of when and letting them know when they are being disruptive or off track from what they're supposed to be doing. So you're just raising the consciousness of it for them, but in a way that is not demeaning. And that I think is really important. And I heard that in how you said you took kids out of class and things, is it's very respectful to them, but it's important that they know what they're doing, that they're aware of it, and that they know what they're doing as the teacher.
Exactly.
And so by combining that, that was able to help kids stay more focused in class. That is awesome.
It did. I called it
Right.
self-monitoring because because first we started off with
Yep.
me and then them. And then after that, what we're trying to move toward is not
Of
needing
course.
that anymore. So that the child is able to focus, pay attention without needing these little tools that I've taught
Yep.
them. But it always puts it on the child and not so much on the teacher. It's impossible for a teacher to teach and she has to continuously stop to say, Johnny is being
Yeah, of course.
disruptive. And Johnny, could you move your chair? Johnny, could you? After a while, everybody's paying attention to Johnny, and so it is teach
Opposite
that
of what
way.
you want. Yeah.
So that's one of. So I had several students that became very successful just using that small tool.
Uh,
And so other tools that I used of the pulling out is something that you really didn't want to do. Because if a child is pulled out of class, I would ask them, if I walked down the hall and I saw a child in the hallway, I'd say, how much are you learning out here in the
yeah.
hallway? And nothing. Of course, nothing. You can't learn anything out here in the hallway. So who's getting hurt by this? You or the teacher? Oh, who's getting
Yeah, the
hurt?
student. Yeah.
Me. Right. It's you. And so what I want is for you to stay in class. I want you to always be in class. I don't want you to be out here in the hallway. And so they wanted me to be happy with them. Kids aim to please. You'd be surprised. Juniors and seniors in high school, they still want you to be happy with them.
Okay.
And so they'll work for that. They'll work to get there. And so it helps. All of these things are strategies that help them help
Right.
themselves.
And that's really important is empowerment. It's not they're not doing it because of the punishment. They're doing it because they want to please and be accepted and do it for themselves. And I think that that's just fantastic that you figured these out. And you figured out most of these on your own, just from working with the kids, or
Well, I would like to say that when you work on a special education master's, that they have this toolbox that they give you, and they say, now you're ready to go. No,
oh,
they do not provide you with any strategies. They don't provide you with anything. You basically have to figure it out on your own. And so some days I go, oh, that worked. And then other days I'll go, got to pull out something different
right,
for this child. And I would go home with that child in my head. What am I going to do tomorrow to make tomorrow a better day than today was? And that's how I came up with all of these strategies. It's through trial and error. This works with this child. This rewards work with some children. I've had children, especially
right,
younger children. I'd say if you can do this in class today and no tally marks at all on your sheet, guess what? You get to go in the goodie box, or you get to go. You get 5 minutes of internet time something like that. Or you get to come to school. When you get to school, you get to come here in my office and you get to play this game. It's usually an educational game, but you get to play this game for 15 minutes before school
right.
starts. How about they get there early? They were there early anyway. And so only different, instead of being disruptive in the lunchroom, they're in my office, but they're having fun. They feel like I gained this
Yeah.
reward. And so and that works. If I have a moment of your time, I'll give you my very worst case scenario.
Okay.
I had this young man, and we'll call him TH, that he was so disruptive that he was the school terror. People hated for him. And notice these children never miss a day of school. They don't miss school. They're there every day, on time, ready. And so the teachers would, Dr. Lankford, so and so is waiting by the library for you. And they all, it was my job to take on this little kid. And he was a challenge. But for some reason, that little boy liked me. And he liked me. He wanted to please me. He didn't want to tear up my room. You don't mess up Dr. Lankford's class, because Dr. Lankford worked so hard for her class to be neat. If he was going to tear up somebody's class, it was going to be a class I pulled him out of. It was never going to be mine. And one day he did mess up my class. He fixed it right back, because he did not want, when the principal was coming, he said, hold on, before we go, we got to
Uh-huh.
straighten up this room. Dr. Lankford doesn't like what I did to this room. And but what I did for him, I promised him something big, and he was the only child that I ever did this with. I promised him, he liked fishing, and I promised him that I would buy him a fishing pole. I let him go to the catalog and pick it out. I let him, we worked on getting that fishing pole for 3 weeks. But in those 3 weeks, I had the best, most well-mannered little boy, because he would show me his tally sheet. Look, I did all my work and it's clean. And he was so focused on that fishing pole. Now, what teachers always have to remember is if you promise something, then you have to
Yes.
deliver it. Yes, that when it came in the mail, I was as excited as he was to give him that
Right.
fishing pole. He took pictures. This helped me through the school year. He took pictures of now the project was got to take a picture of the fish that you caught. Now you've got to, and so but it kept him motivated. And this child, he I got him through fifth grade, and but he was so he was an interesting little guy. But his behaviors were of such that the teachers had pretty much given up
Oh,
on him, and they thought that I did something wonderful, special. All I did was went home and thought, what is he
yep.
interested in? So what could I do to get him to work? And then he
That's
did.
fantastic. I mean, there are so many kids who could benefit from having you as a teacher, but you're not a teacher anymore, not in a school. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing you're still working with kids. So what are you doing these days?
Well, now I have Education and Services Unlimited, and my son, he is the assistant director of our it's a virtual school for homeschoolers. We have that, but I also have my services side, and that's my time to shine. It's because my other teachers, they do the teaching part. They all of those children that are so perfectly wonderful, they sit online and they do a virtual class, and their parents have elected to homeschool them, and they're wonderful. They see me maybe once. Well, some of them will have my English class, and my English class is something. But but that's the only time I'll see those
Right.
students. But my behavioral children that I go to for behavioral support, sometimes they have ASD, and their parents have opted that they don't get behavioral services from an ABA. Sometimes they'll have attention deficit disorders, and their parents are just like at wit's end. What can I do? What can I do? And then somebody will whisper in their ear and say, I know this lady. Her name's Dr. Lankford, and Dr. Lankford can help your child. And so the ones that I find that I work with more than anything else are the attention deficit disorders. They're the challenge of the
Uh-huh.
classroom, and and so I pull out my strategies, and sometimes, especially with high school students, they really needed something to motivate them to want to do it.
Right.
And so because they for their reasons they're not excited about doing the work anymore. And so or even in middle school that the excitement
Hmm.
is over. And they're used to not pleasing the teacher. So what makes
Yeah,
me want to come and do and please
exactly.
you? I've heard some mean things from some teachers, and they were talking about me. And so those are the kids that I work with now. And sometimes we have something called Girl Power, and these are our challenging little girls that need to have something that'll just give them the to keep going to school. And so we have little projects, we have community based projects, things that we do to make them feel, hey, I'm special. I'm still special, and I want to be a part of this group. And so everybody has their time to shine within the Girl Power group. And all the girls in our Girl Power group have some kind of little
Right.
challenge that meets them every day when they wake up in the morning. And you might not think that this would lower a child's self-esteem, but it does. They know that they are not the first to be picked
Of
for
course.
anything. By the time you get in the sixth grade, you know where you are where you are in the pecking order. And so what I do is raise the self-esteem of those girls. And so we have that when we're working with their behaviors and working with how to say what you said, or how could I do that a
Right.
little bit better. And we have this funny thing that I tell them. I say, when that teacher gets that 11 right here, that is never a good sign.
And is this class done in person or virtually?
No, now this one I meet them on
Okay.
Saturdays. The six girls this school year. We have six girls that have signed up for Girl Power, and so we meet at the library. And so and criteria before you can leave, you have got to check out two library books. And you have to commit to reading those 2 library books. But it's just a club.
Right.
It's made up like a club. The girls know each other. They know what project they're working on, and they get to do something fun. And it gives that child, what I did for TH, I do with these little girls. It gives them something to look forward to. And so if they have that little something to look
Sure.
forward to, then they feel successful in that arena. And that helps them to move forward and say, hey, I can go to school on Monday because I know on Saturday I'm going to Girl Power and I have to tell what I did successfully in front of all 6 of the other girls. Something
Nice.
successful. And if they get a teacher to sign off on it, they get great brownie points for that. And sometimes actual brownies.
That doesn't hurt. Wow. So you're doing the remote schooling, these programs. So, and where are these programs located? What part of the country? Because we have listeners from all over.
Oh, I'm
So,
in Georgia. I'm in Georgia and I'm in Georgia and I'm in Louisiana. Today I'm in Louisiana. If you notice, I asked you, are you Central Standard Time or are you Eastern? Because sometimes I'm in Georgia and then sometimes I'm here in Louisiana. And here in Louisiana, we have a nonprofit that's doing all the same things, but these are to help children whose parents can't afford, all the bells and whistles and I've also talked with, I don't know what I say all this, but I also talked with Donna, and so we're going to be doing the attention. We're going to be doing the attention
right.
arcade at 3 elementary schools, and the teachers are excited. I've met with the teachers. They have this program called Volunteers in Public Schools. They call it VIPs. And so I will be a volunteer, but of course, the nonprofit pays for
Okay.
that, and so that I can reach more
That is
children,
awesome.
and then I get to tally their performance, and I just like reaching as many kids as I can that have problems in classes. And so when you tell a teacher that and they see you're actually excited about it, they are like, okay, yeah, let's see if this works. And I've met with 3 very excited
Okay.
principals, and they're excited to have the program come to their schools. And so we're starting with elementary school kids, and so I'll still do outside of the nonprofit. I'll still work with middle school, the middle school girls, and I have some middle school boys that I have to meet with in person
Okay.
too. Their parents have already signed them up for behavior therapy, and so this year is going to be a
Yeah, sounds
busy
like
one.
it. But
And
these
so
students, I mean, they are so lucky to get to work with you. I mean, I can feel how you approach this is so different than a lot of educators and support people. And it's just wonderful to hear what you're doing and how you're helping kids. It just warms my heart.
Well, the only thing is, I had when I first started teaching a bajillion years ago. I remember that a veteran teacher told me. She said, "You're not going to smile." She said, "Give it 20." No, no. She said, "Give it this year." She said that these kids will wipe that smile right off your face. I said, "Really? Is it that bad?" And she said, "Sweetie, you don't know what you're getting into." And here it is 20. This is my 28th school year, and
That
I'm
is
still
awesome.
smiling. I'm still excited about student learning, and I'm still just as passionate about it today. And one lady told me, a teacher told me, she said, "What did you do to make it not wear off?" I said, "Well, every year is different." And so you're going to meet some different kids, and then if you have a child that is the same as the child that you had last year, then can't you see how they are remarkably different this year than they were last
Right.
year? And she's like, "Yes, I guess." I said, "Well, if you can't see where they're remarkably improved, then sometimes I want to say maybe you got into the
Yeah.
wrong profession because these kids are growing up.
Yep.
and their lives. You have the tools in your hand to change a life. How does that make you feel? I can't see where you would be upset about going to work when you have the ability to affect that kind of
Absolutely.
change.
Yeah, we need more educators who approach it
I've
the way
never,
you do. That's fantastic that you're doing that and thinking about it from that perspective. Just as a final thought, is there any advice you'd like to share with other educators or parents about dealing with children who have particularly attention issues?
I would like to say this, that you, as an educator, you might think that that student has little, I don't know why people think that they don't have feelings and that the things that you say do not affect them, but
Oh,
it
sure.
does. And when I meet them after school, that's the first thing that I have to deal with is what you might have said in class or your lack of enthusiasm when they walked in the door. If you could just dig down deep and find a way to say, today I'm going to reach little Johnny, and today I'm going to make him feel special in the
Wow.
class. And I'm going to make him feel like he's my kid. And if you can do that, then that'll help to little Johnny and my job so much more because maybe I won't have to spend 30 minutes
Yeah.
unpacking what happened at school today before we can start on any kind of therapy. And little Johnny would have a successful school
Right.
year. And so we as teachers, we don't know how much power we hold in our hands and how much these kids need us to be happy, healthy, and
Yeah.
understanding. If we can do that, we have we open a whole door for a child that'll make a difference in their life forever. That's the
That's
only thing.
fantastic. And thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I've really enjoyed our time and hearing what you're doing and keep doing that great work you're doing. We're excited for what you're doing. And I
I'm
hope
so
people
happy.
really, get to learn from what your experiences. So thank you. Thanks for giving me your attention for another show. We hope you learned something that you can apply right away. If you enjoyed the show, please rate us wherever you listen to your podcasts so that other people can more easily find the podcast. And remember to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.